Hiya man, how are you doing?
Good timing, man. I was actually just about to start filming my annual reflections video. Do you want to be in it again?
Nah man, we need to talk about something.
Oh no. What's up, man?
It's that blooming bird app, whatever it's called, X. I keep seeing posts that appear to be aimed at me appearing in your videos, like this one from Jessica from Wolverhampton. Imagine a GP video bombing at ThrillNet videos. Some people need to get a grip. Like what the hell, man? Surely I'm not that annoying.
Jessica? Isn't that the girl you took to Winter Wonderland last year? You know, after you had a little go at me because I hadn't uploaded my vlog from my 2022 trip?
Yeah, as you know, we met on X and then we had a nice trip to Winter Wonderland. Then we carried on talking for a bit, we're planning some things over summer, and then all of a sudden one day she just ghosted me. And after that I noticed she started posting a lot more and stuff. And a lot of them posts seem to be subtle digs at me and you. She's not the only person posting in this style either. I've been seeing it a lot more from people lately.
I'm so sorry to hear that, man. Stories like this are just all too common these days. You know, I think it's probably time me and you had a little chat.
Go on then, man. Fill me with your words of wisdom.
You see, the theme park community, and I use that term loosely, on Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days, is a pretty toxic place. And not the place you want to be going when looking for a lifelong friendship or relationship. You can use that energy for something so much more meaningful, such as building an online presence, such as your YouTube channel, for example. That way you can attract an audience who truly care about you. And this could well potentially lead to you making a high quality lifelong friend.
I see what you mean, man. I've always had my suspicions. It's just, obviously I don't have a ton of friends who understand my love for theme parks, and I've been trying to grow my own theme park YouTube channel, and it's all just so time consuming. I thought that turning to social media platforms such as X would help me with all of this, but it seems to be having the opposite effect. And I've also been noticing that I've been feeling a lot more down lately, and I've been just so much more distracted. I've been struggling to focus on my goals. It's definitely time I cut down on the social media usage. That way I'm not constantly filling my head with negativity and associating myself with toxic people.
Absolutely, I can relate entirely. It was only around about 6 months or so ago that I was feeling similar. Now, let me tell you the story of how I transformed my entire mindset towards the theme park community, the theme park industry, and theme park content creation, such that I now enjoy being a theme park YouTuber more than ever. In order to properly emphasise why my transformation this year is so important and so significant, we need to go back to the end of 2020, my 2020 reflections video, and talk about a point I made in that. Now, obviously 2020 was an incredibly difficult year due to a certain pandemic that was going on, and I was severely clinically vulnerable to the thing that was running rampant, which meant that even when parks did reopen, when it was a little bit safer, I made the difficult decision to still stay at home. And so I said in that video that you should always be grateful for what you have and never take anything for granted, because you never know when it's going to be taken away from you. That was my biggest lesson from 2020, and something I vowed that I would keep in mind going forward. But unfortunately, I really didn't stick to that. From 2021 onwards, I'd start to become a lot more ranty in my videos. The first ever rant, so to say, I posted on this channel was my Oktoberfest rant back in October 2020, which I did literally because Josh said as a joke, why not do it? But for whatever reason, I just decided, screw it. I'm actually going to make this video. And this unfortunately set me on a trajectory to just rant more in general in my videos going into 2021, which was actually a pretty major year in itself. My video quality and editing improved a lot. But as the year went on, my capacity to rant was just fueled more and more. I uploaded 1 or 2 other videos that were ranty in the first part of the year, and they got a bit of backlash on Twitter, as did the initial Oktoberfest rant, I should say. I was sick of people in the community being seemingly falsely and toxically positive. For example, it just seems to be this ongoing trend in 2021 that a new ride would open, one example being Gangster Granny, the ride at Alton Towers, and on its opening day, everyone would say it's brilliant, and then 3 months later, people would just be hating on it left, right and centre. I don't know why people were doing it. I assumed that it was to try and impress the PR teams at the parks in hope of getting invited to more events and stuff in the future, but it really grinded my gears and ultimately put me in the mindset of, well, if they're going to be fake, I'm going to be as authentic as possible, and if there's something I don't like at a park, heck, I'm going to have something to say about it. And what started off as something quite humorous, a joke between me and Josh about me posting an Oktoberfest rant, turned into something that got really out of hand really quickly. I was ranting about the parks left, right and centre, throwing digs at them, just not appreciating them at all, which was so ironic considering my situation 12 months prior. I just gave off such bad, repulsive, negative energy. Take this clip as an example, which is from a vlog I filmed in November 2021 from Blackpool Pleasure Beach's Winter Weekends event.
It's not like Pleasure Beach to be in this position where everything's falling to pieces, unlike Alton Towers, where it happens on a regular based off my visits.
Notice how I'm just throwing digs at towers left, right and centre, which is just completely unnecessary and irrelevant to a video that's about a completely different park. Now, the almost 3-year period of late 2021 to early 2024 was an interesting time for the channel in which there was no real evolution whatsoever. I was stuck in this limbo state with it, and that's because I was studying a software engineering degree at university, meaning I was incredibly busy and I was literally just uploading videos if and when I could. I wasn't taking YouTube as seriously as I had done in the few months prior, and so I wasn't really reflecting at all on the quality and style of content, looking how I could improve it. The only real thing that improved in that period was my editing, as I just practiced more as I uploaded more videos. And so I never stopped to think, hang on a second, why am I doing all this ranting? That was until the final straw in October 2023 when I uploaded a news update video when Hyperia's name was revealed with a thumbnail with the text, "This is terrible" on it, because I really wasn't a fan of Hyperia's name. And calling it terrible was a complete over-exaggeration, that much so that I received a comment on that video from the official Thorpe Park social media team calling me a beacon of positivity. As you can see, it's a very, very sarcastic comment, and that was the final nail in the coffin that caused me to stop for a second and think, what the heck am I doing with this channel? Don't get me wrong, I am, and I always have been, an advocate for authenticity. You should always be open and honest when doing a video about anything, but making solely negative videos for the sake of it is overstepping the line. A better way to go about things is to simply just not make a video at all if it's not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things, or express your thoughts in a more effective and constructive way. And so, at the end of 2023, in the video titled, "It is Time I Address This," I vowed that going into 2024, I would cut down with the ranting, I would improve my emotional intelligence such that I could make more effective and constructive review videos, and that I would start to interact with the theme park community more on platforms such as Twitter, contrary to my prior hostility towards it following the backlash I received in 2020 and 2021. And the reason I changed my mind on that aspect of things is because through Josh, Theme Park Mad, if you're not familiar, on YouTube, it's Valhalla updates, we actually met a few big fans of the ride, some of which are quite active within the Twitter quote-unquote community. We didn't meet them through that, but it caused me to think, hang on a second, Twitter and the theme park community might not even be that bad. Unfortunately, the change I proposed in that video hasn't been a straightforward path whatsoever. There's some aspects of that I changed my mind on, and there's others that really were a challenge for me to put into action. But I'm pleased to say that I am now happier than ever as a theme park content creator, and I'm also happier than ever with the quality and style of content that I'm producing for you guys. Now, these reflections slash highlights videos have varied in their formula over the years, but to explain this transition of a year fully to you guys, I'm going to be going back to the roots of 2020 and 2021 and doing a full monthly breakdown of what I've done, how I've been feeling, and how it's impacted the channel. But after that, I'll go on to highlight key takeaways from the experience, which I feel like both I and you could learn from, and what to expect on the channel in 2025. It's safe to say you are in for a massive treat. And so we best start off with January, which obviously took place just after I made that video vowing my transformation at the end of 2023. And this may seem a bit ironic to you guys because I did state in that video, obviously I wanted to be more interactive on Twitter. I actually deleted Twitter from my phone right after uploading that. And the reason for that is because, as I stated in that video, doom scrolling was a very bad habit of mine and proved to be pretty detrimental to my mental health, such that often the initial trigger for a rant video would be something that I've seen on Twitter. Going on there was often a muscle memory thing. Obviously, I'm using my phone all the time, and I just developed the habit of opening up Twitter without even thinking about it. So by deleting the app and only using Twitter on my computer, my aim was to break this habit of muscle memory. So I was only going on there when I wanted to catch up with what was going on. And this really did work. I noticed quite quickly that I was going on Twitter a lot less. It would often be once a day as opposed to 100 times a day. So I was feeling a lot better throughout this month. And in terms of other major things that happened, we obviously had the name reveal of Nemesis Reborn, along with the first ever test runs, both of which I made videos on. And February was much of the same. I wasn't posting a ton of videos, I should mention, during any of these early months of the year because I was finishing off my final year at university, so I was very, very busy. But we actually got the announcement of the Blackpool Pleasure Beach rebrand to Pleasure Beach Resort, so I made a video about that. We also got an announcement about Nemesis Reborn's opening day, which was revealed to be taking place on Saturday the 16th of March, and I also made a video about that as well. March obviously saw the reopening of what is now called Pleasure Beach Resort for the 2024 season, and we all know how that went. But the silver lining was that we got an announcement from Amanda Thompson that the Grand Prix will not be operating as the park are planning a new attraction. And that got all of us Pleasure Beach fans very, very excited. Having drastically cut down on my Twitter usage in the couple of months prior, I was obviously feeling so much better. But I ironically actually re-downloaded the app to my phone in the middle of March. And the reason for that is because there was a lot of updates going on around Pleasure Beach, and people I was with, such as Josh, were posting about them on Twitter, and I just felt like I was missing out on opportunities to attract people to my content on YouTube, because I always had this theory that Twitter and Instagram were a great way to attract more people to my YouTube channel. Now, obviously, my mindset at the end of 2023 was to begin to embrace the theme park community on Twitter a lot more. So despite the fact that I deleted the app in January, I was actually posting on there more than ever. I was just doing it from my computer. And with me still doing that in March, when I re-downloaded the app, I ended up going down a really bad path. Obviously, it's much easier to doom scroll Twitter when you have it on your phone. Because I was posting on there so much, this naturally led to my doom scrolling habits quickly becoming worse than ever. Even though this was never the intention, I condemned it in the video I uploaded at the end of last year. And to unfortunately end March on another negative, this is the month that Merlin also unveiled their discriminatory wrap pre-booking system, which introduced the need for disabled guests who struggle to access the main queues to pre-book in advance to have their access requirements met. And I thought and still think that this is an absolutely disgusting system. Therefore, I uploaded a rant video about it, and because I believe that system is morally wrong, I still stand by that video to this day. Now, April was my final full month at university, therefore I was incredibly busy, so nothing much happened. I didn't upload any videos to YouTube whatsoever. The only major thing that happened was that I rode Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers for the first time, and annoyed the entire Twitter theme park community when I posted my initial review of it following my first ever ride, which stated that it was forceless. Don't get me wrong, I do take that tweet back a bit, because the majority of the time Nemesis isn't forceless, even though it's not as forceful as everyone says. But when you ride it on the back row, first thing in the morning, as I did for my first ever ride on it, then it is. In early May, I finally finished university, and the first thing I did after that was upload a video to my YouTube channel announcing my return, and that I was going to be doing absolutely all sorts, uploading videos twice a week, starting 2 new major projects to expand the ThrillNet platform, one of them being a talk show that I'd be doing with Josh, and another being a top secret project. Remember that survey I linked in the description of that video and asked you to fill in that I've not mentioned since? The thing is, there was a major problem. Now obviously I'd re-downloaded Twitter back in March, and I'd said that the doom scrolling had gotten worse than ever. Imagine how bad it got after I finished university. I simply did not have the skill of self-discipline. Now, back when I was at uni, I was working so hard, and I was quite disciplined with that. However, we were having deadlines set by lecturers. I wasn't deciding what work I had to do. That was being distributed to us. Self-discipline is a completely different skill. You have to assign yourself your own work. I said I was going to be uploading twice a week, but I simply didn't have the ability to be able to fulfill that. Going from being told what to do to trying to upload consistently on a YouTube channel, work on a huge project to expand the ThrillNet platform, which still hasn't been announced to this day, by the way, starting a talk show, and job searching for a full-time employment in software engineering, because I didn't do a degree for nothing, was a huge shock to the system. And with me having developed this habit of doom scrolling on Twitter, not only was my self-discipline in a bad place, so was my mental health. Instead of uploading videos twice a week, I was uploading around about once every 8 to 10 days, which, considering the fact I wasn't working on the talk show at that time, I wasn't working on the other top secret project, which I originally planned to launch in summer of this year, is absolutely pathetic. The only huge positive I can take from this month is the fact that one of the few videos I did upload went on to become, by a country mile, the most successful video on the channel. It was a video sharing my thoughts on whether I believe Blackpool Pleasure Beach could reclaim the height record from Thorpe Park, and as of recording, it has over 25,000 views. So I just want to say, if you watched that video, thank you so much. June, unfortunately, saw my mental health decline even further. So much so that in the middle of the month, I made the decision to take a 2-week break from the channel. Well, that was until the next day Blackpool Pleasure Beach decided to start ripping out Grand Prix copper rods from the guide rails, which, based on Amanda Thompson's tweet, could well be the first step towards us getting a huge new attraction at the park. Obviously, Grand Prix has now been completely demolished as of recording, so naturally, I felt pressured to make a news update about that. It's important to note that up until this point, I was kind of oblivious to how bad my doom scrolling habit was. I knew full well, as I stated in my video I uploaded at the end of last year, announcing my transformation, that it's detrimental to anyone's mental health. The reason I was likely so oblivious is because, with me being so busy with uni, earlier this year, the problem had progressed at quite a slow rate. Therefore, naturally, I blamed my poor mental health and lack of motivation with the channel on the fact that I was burnt out from how busy I'd been with uni earlier in the year. But naturally, as someone who was aware that doom scrolling was a problem, I decided to delete Twitter from my phone again, in hope that my mental health may just get a little bit better. In particular, a major issue around this time was negativity about Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which is obviously my local park that I visit pretty much every week when it's open. People were constantly making digs at them, of the fact that Ice Blast was still closed, River Cave was still closed, and they'd made no announcements surrounding them of what was going on. And don't get me wrong, it's valid to criticise that, and a lot of people were being constructive about it, but a lot of enthusiasts are just anti-Pleasure Beach for whatever reason. I've never quite understood why, and therefore there was people on there just outright slating the place, and it was really getting me down. And as an extra precautionary measure, I also made the decision to stop posting on there, as I'd obviously made the proposition in my video at the end of last year that I would be posting more on there to try and attract people from there to my YouTube channel. But by this point, I'd essentially completely fallen out with the community on there again, and the criticism about Pleasure Beach was a big part of that. As far as I was concerned, I'd gone full circle back to my 2021 stance on the community and was like, yeah, they can go and screw themselves. On a lighter note, I did visit Fantasy Island at the end of June, a new park in the UK that I'd never been to before, and I really enjoyed myself. And contrary to everything I've just said, I did actually re-download Twitter for literally a day, just in case I happened to stumble across anything at the park that I felt maybe worth posting on there, just for the memories, just so that I could look back on it, and just for the few people on there who might care what I have to say. That brings us on to July, which was probably the most significant month on this whole transformation journey of me and the channel. There's a whole lot of positives about this month, but there's also a whole lot of negatives as well. But starting off with the positives, at the start of the month, I uploaded my Fantasy Island vlog, which went down really well. I did a very funny room tour of our accommodation, which was a lodge located in Kenwick Park in Lincolnshire. I also hit 1,000 subscribers on the 10th of July. And what made this even more special is it was on the day that I graduated from university. So that day was honestly so special. In videos I posted throughout the year on this channel, I've stated that I'd be doing an 1,000 subscriber special. However, with all the news going on this year, it's been a huge year where theme park news is concerned, especially for my local park, Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I've just been caught up with that, and I've not had a chance to make the video. I've obviously made my Q&A, which went on recently, but I've decided now I'm just going to ditch that 1,000 subscriber special, because everything I would be saying in that video, I'm essentially saying now, so I don't see the point. But I just want to thank you all so much if you have clicked that subscribe button. I know subscribers aren't everything in terms of YouTube. They're actually, in the grand scheme of things, not that important at all. However, they are a good representation of everyone who supported the channel over time, so thank you so much. And another thing which could be considered a negative, because people want Pleasure Beach to invest more in the park, as do I, but could also be considered a positive because the existing infrastructure of this kind has done very well for them. Amanda Thompson announced on a podcast that she is planning to build a third #Hotel Trivago for Pleasure Beach, and I of course made a video about that as well, because we all love a nice Hotel Trivago, don't we? However, this month had a whole lot of negatives. My mental health was still on a decline. I'd deleted Twitter again after the Fantasy Island trip. I wasn't constantly going on Twitter every time I unlocked my phone. However, I was still at a point where I was craving dopamine from it for whatever reason. Instant gratification is a very interesting and confusing thing for sure, and therefore I was still going on there. My mental health had gotten so bad to a point where I was starting to entirely ignore my proposition about ranting less. I'd conquered it in terms of my video content. I've barely uploaded any ranty videos at all throughout the entirety of this year, besides the rants about the ride access pass system and the video about the theme park community, which I'll get onto in a few minutes because it's relevant to this transformation. But it was always the case since 2021, if I wasn't ranting on camera, I was ranting on social media. And I just reached a point where I was starting to vent my anger about things that people were posting on Twitter. Most of these tweets have since been deleted. However, I remember posting one particular tweet about Hyperion and how I felt it was a flop because it was constantly having technical issues and I stated that Thorpe Park should have got a B&M Hyper instead. I ended up getting some backlash for that from the infamous Twitter community, and I remember vividly that the legend, my best friend Josh from Theme Park Mad, when he saw that tweet, sent it to me and essentially said, "What the actual bloody hell are you doing?" I don't think he worded it like that, but he essentially said, like, what's going on here? He'd essentially seen my issues, I guess you could say, as well, and they'd gone too far in his mind. He's always been quite a self-conscious person when it comes to minding his reputation amongst other people, certainly more so than me. But I remember him probably overreacting to the situation, in all honesty. Like, I remember him saying stuff like, "This is wreaking absolute havoc," and whatnot. But the bottom line is, he was essentially telling me that I needed to change, and at that point I realised I needed to take some sort of more extreme action because I was evidently in a pretty bad place. I remember just feeling so much guilt that I'd proposed back in May that I'd be doing all these things, starting this huge top secret project that I intended to be releasing around about this time, actually, in July. I wanted to start this talk show. I wanted to be uploading twice a week, and I'd failed miserably at everything. Now, you may be familiar with the term dopamine detox. It was a big trend back in COVID times. I'd heard of it. It's where you don't use any social media at all for 2 weeks or whatever to essentially reset your dopamine receptors so they're not craving instant gratification all the time. It's a common practice that people do who want to start with entrepreneurship, start a YouTube channel so that they can just focus on the essentials without any distractions. Now, don't get me wrong, I cheated the official protocol a little bit because I still wanted to use Instagram to message certain people on there who I don't have on any other apps, and I still wanted to use YouTube, obviously, to upload videos. But what I did was, I'd obviously deleted Twitter from my phone, but I also deleted Instagram and YouTube as well to help ensure that I just had as little exposure to social media as possible. Another thing I did was make my Twitter account private. One, to stop me receiving any negativity from any members of the community who may wish to distribute it. And two, to just discourage me from going on Twitter even more, because I literally had no excuse to post anything to the world now. This addressed part of the issue, but there was also the issue of not doing any of the things I promised to you guys earlier this year with YouTube, etc. I essentially figured that I was being way too egotistical, and that uploading twice a week, doing this talk show potentially once a month, and working on this other top secret project as well was just unrealistic. So I decided to follow the concept of progressive overloading, which you may have heard in gym terms, etc. It's essentially where you start with something and gradually build up, rather than going for the full-blown goal or whatever you're working towards. So instead of trying to upload twice a week, I made a goal for myself to upload at least once a week. I completely binned off the idea of doing the talk show for the time being. I'd kind of come to the conclusion anyway that Josh, who I wanted to do it with, his schedule just didn't align with mine, because I obviously originally planned to do it with him, so that was an excuse to call it off. And as for the top secret project, none of you knew what it was really, and I hadn't spoken about it that much, so I didn't feel too bad about calling that off. So for the time being, I just focused on uploading to YouTube one video each week. At the end of the day, I knew if I could achieve that goal, I'd feel great, and gradually over time I could build that up to 1 to 2 videos a week, and then 2 videos a week, and then potentially introduce the top secret project after that, working on that, etc, etc, building it up bit by bit as I gradually built up that skill of self-discipline. And by the start of August, I'd begun to notice that this detox was working. I was replacing the instant gratification, the easy dopamine from scrolling on social media, with dopamine delayed gratification, people tend to call it, of putting in work into something meaningful and productive, that being the YouTube channel. And I was getting rewards from it. I was getting the views, I was getting the subscribers. All of my rewards in terms of that were going up because I was uploading more. I was uploading once a week quite consistently by this point. I didn't have an official upload schedule, but I was uploading at least once a week. August was a special month in that I rode Hyperia at Fort Park for the first time. Now, I will confess I did re-download all social media onto my phone just for a day so I could post anything I felt like posting in terms of that with regards to memories, etc. Similar to what I did with Fantasy Island, but that didn't affect me at all. I deleted stuff after that day and I continued on that upwards trajectory, and by the end of August I was publishing videos sometimes twice a week. One notable development in August was a rumoured gyro swing at Pleasure Beach. A loan was published on the company's house website by Pleasure Beach Resort for a proposed gyro swing. We also had the announcement about Nickelodeon Land's opening before the rest of the park in February 2025. Nickelodeon Land's opening on the 15th of February, whereas the rest of the park's opening on the 1st of March. And I made videos about both those announcements in August. Other videos I made included another rant about Merlin's rap system because it was really out of hand at this point of year. The entirety of August, in the middle of August, was already booked up for rap, as was quite a few of the weekends in September as well. And it soon became apparent by the end of August that I'd conquered this rut. My social media usage was under control. I wasn't ranting on there anymore. I was barely even using the Twitter and Instagram ThrillNet accounts. I was just posting the odd video promotion here and there. And to mark this achievement, I begun preparing an infamous video, my theme park community rant video. And so at the start of September, it was published. My theme park community rant video expressing all the issues I have with the theme park community, the issues I had in 2021 that I questioned at the end of 2023, but that I was dead set on by this point. I absolutely had with it. The issue of the inability to express an opinion without anyone coming for your arse, the indecency to call someone out instead of sorting out your issues in DMs, the list goes on. I just wanted to spread awareness that social media just isn't the answer. It's not the place to go to meet your lifelong friends. It's not the place to go to grow your platform. To grow a YouTube channel, you upload more videos, you interact with your fans in the comments, the people who actually give a damn about you and who've chosen to watch your videos. You don't go scouting out Twitter for new recruits. Looking back, I do cringe at that video a little bit because I was just so extreme in it, so ranty. I went on a massive ramble about freedom of speech and stuff like that. What was quite funny is I was using topical drama as examples, so there was a documentary released at the time called When Theme Parks Go Horribly Wrong, and a good few enthusiasts went on it and received quite a bit of backlash because of some other content in that documentary that they had no prior knowledge of beforehand. Oh, honestly, it was just so petty, as Twitter always is. The timing of that video was absolute perfection. Honestly, it was an absolute mess, Twitter, around about that time. Naturally, I did receive a few negative and confused comments saying that, oh, you're saying that people can have free speech, but then you're condemning people who bully others. Yeah, I believe in free speech in the sense of people should be able to express their opinions of things freely, i.e. parks, and I hate the you can't say this, you can't say that attitude. However, pure negativity, making negative videos just purely for negativity as I've done in the past, and bullying people especially, there's no place for that. It just makes everyone's mental health worse. As long as you're being constructive, you should be able to speak freely. That's the message I was trying to get across with that video. But they didn't bother me. And that's the thing. Back when I was using social media constantly, my mental health wasn't great. In 2021, 2022, you get the idea. I was always self-conscious deep down about what people thought, even if I made it out like I didn't care with me doing all these rants. However, since that transformation in August and since that video, I've been viewing and replying to all of my comments, unless someone's wrote something stupid, then I won't acknowledge it, which does happen occasionally, but 90% of people have been so positive about my channel. So I hope you have noticed and appreciate that I've been acknowledging you more and replying to more comments, and I do apologise that that hasn't always been the case. Later in September, and this was a big highlight of 2024, I visited for the first time the lovely park that is Efteling in the Netherlands, and just before that I actually re-downloaded for good all of my social media, that being Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, because by this point I could control my social media usage. Essentially, it's never been an issue since then, and I've kept all the apps on my phone, but I'd conquered the rut by this point, so it literally didn't matter that I had those apps on my phone. And as for Efteling itself, I had an absolutely amazing time, and even though I had the apps back on my phone, I didn't actually post from there that much at all. I just enjoyed it. And it was finally at the end of September, following all my success with my progressive overloading in terms of YouTube video uploads, that I finally started work on the major project to expand the ThrillNet platform, which I vowed earlier this year I would be working on. It only took 4 months, didn't it? But better late than never. And that brings us on to October, which was very similar to September, really. I was continuing working on my big top secret project, really enjoying it. And I was going to Pleasure Beach occasionally, and I also visited Alton Towers Scarefest, did the Scare Mazes there for the first time, which there's a vlog of on the channel, and visited Fort Park Fright Nights, which there's also a vlog of on the channel. I did Deadbeat with Jack and Archie. Go and watch the vlog to hear the full story of that, but the invite to do that with them was just so special. We had a picture with them, me, Josh and Danielle, and our run-throughs of Deadbeat with them were absolutely insane. I also obviously uploaded the Efteling vlog at the start of this month and got a little bit of backlash from some Dutch fans of that park, I'm guessing, some locals who didn't agree with some of my takes on the park. There were some people who were really lovely, who I'm guessing are locals, but some people weren't a fan of the video. But me being me, following my transformation, I know I'm using that word a lot, I read through all the comments and I replied to everything I felt I should reply to. November was actually a huge month for the channel due to the amount going on at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, starting off with the confirmation that Ice Blast is in fact getting a refurbishment finally from the park. They could have put out a statement publicly, however they contacted a local news outlet who put out a news update about that. But more majorly, we saw the demolition begin of the Grand Prix, the actual destruction, if you want to call it that, of the main helix structure of that ride. And with there being so much going on, it was at this point that I made the jump to 2 uploads a week, and I kept this up pretty consistently throughout November. I obviously started it kind of unintentionally, really, due to the amount going on, but I noticed it was really benefiting the channel. I was enjoying it, it felt manageable, so I just carried it on. I aim to carry on 2 uploads a week as much as possible. However, that may drop to 1 upload a week at times during closed season, just because with the parks being closed, there's naturally less to cover, and I feel like replacing that time with development on my top secret project would be a better use. I also got to finally spend some time in November on park with my good friend Tegan. Shout out to you if you're watching. In fact, I know you will be. After she'd been working there all year in Nickelodeon land, she finally finished at the end of October. November was a contender for one of the most successful months on the channel, numbers wise, and in terms of the interactions I've been getting with you guys and comments I've been receiving, and I felt happier than ever as well. So it genuinely ended the season on such a high. And that brings us right back up to date here now in December. I'm recording this on the 7th of December, and there's not much to speak about in terms of what's happened this month so far. I've literally just uploaded my closing day vlog and the odd news update. But in terms of the key takeaways, I think myself and you could take away from what I've just gone through, my transformation. I think it's really important to always have an awareness of your emotions. Take time out of your day every so often or every week or so to reflect on how you're feeling. Maybe write it down, journal it. If you think you might be doing some bad habits, try to dissect what's going on. If you're doom scrolling social media, note down that you're doing that and try to journal potentially why. And know the best way to overcome something like that is to use that progressive overloading strategy that I just discussed. You may have really ambitious goals, but you just need to take time, calm your ego, and break the goal down into something smaller and more manageable. Another thing I've learned is the huge effect that negativity can have on your mental health. Obviously, I've been subject to this negativity through the likes of Twitter/X and negative stuff people have been posting on there about Blackpool, etc. But I've also come to the realisation because of that when I've been posting these really ranty and purely negative videos in previous years, I've been projecting negativity onto other people. I've likely been making other people's days worse, the viewers who've watched that. And I can only apologise. At the end of 2023, I stated that I wanted to stop making these solely negative videos to help myself in terms of my reputation amongst parks and potential other content creators that I might network with in the future. But I've also come to the realisation that projecting negativity just affects everyone's mental health, and the value it brings to anyone is negligible. Yes, those ranty videos brought in the views, they brought in the clout, but they didn't grow the channel as such. They didn't bring value to people. They probably resulted in poorer mental health amongst my audience. I also had a poorer relationship with my audience during that time because, as I've said before, at that time when I was doom scrolling social media so much and had worse mental health as a result, I was more self-conscious deep down of what people thought of me. Therefore, I didn't check comments, I didn't check Instagram messages, etc. And I'll put the thumbnail on screen now, but this is an example of a purely negative ranty video I made in 2022, and it was about Colossus being retracked, and it was titled "This Awful Ride is Being Retracked." What value does that bring to anyone? Absolutely nothing. And it's not going to stop the project from happening because the Thorpe Park already had a contract with Tazica to do that retracking of Colossus. So the video is just pointless. It brought in a ton of views, but who the hell is going to stick around on this channel after watching that? And there's proof of that in the yearly data in terms of my views. If you look at the views throughout 2022 and 2023, and don't get me wrong, in all fairness, I wasn't uploading that much during those years because I was at uni, the growth is non-existent. The channel was very stagnant in terms of numbers. Yeah, sure, the subscribers went up gradually, but as I said before, subscribers aren't a great indicator of your channel's growth. Another aspect of my channel that has definitely declined since 2020, partially as a result of the ranty news updates, is that of original content. I feel like my content's been way less original. Back in 2020, I did a load of interaction videos, like I did a Q&A. Obviously, I've brought that back recently. An assumptions video asking you guys, the audience, to send in assumptions about me. I did some bits and bobs in Planet Coaster, Minecraft related to theme parks, and those videos often did really well. Don't get me wrong, I've done that sort of stuff occasionally since 2021, but when a video has done really well, for example, I did a Planet Coaster challenge to build the big one in 10 minutes, that did quite well. I did a video touring a Roblox recreation of Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which did extremely well. I just never followed on from that because I was too distracted making negative videos when the parks released news. But the past is in the past, and I feel like I've finally now come full circle to my ethos in 2020 to now be happier than ever doing what I do, posting constructive videos. When a park does something right, I'll let them know about it. When a park doesn't do something right, they do something wrong, like Alton Towers did last week, announcing that they're removing 3 rides at once with no prior notice. I'll also let them know about it, but in a constructive and effective way. That, of course, though, comes with the exception of things the parks are doing that are completely immoral, such as Merlin's discriminatory rap system. I am still going to be ranting to death about that in future videos, trust me. If there is something negative that comes out from one of the parks in the future that really triggers me, for example, I'm not really arsed about the top spin that's going to be opening at Alton Towers next year, I'll just not make a video on it. That's why I've not covered that project. Project Ocean, or as many believe it's going to be called, Toxicator. To be now on 1.2k subscribers, have some amazing supporters. Honestly, the comments, especially over the past few months from some of you guys, have been lovely. To have some amazing friends who I've not met through Twitter. They've all been met through me doing this channel or Josh doing his channel. I'm genuinely so grateful for that. And it's also been the best year in terms of meeting you guys in the parks as well. So many of you who've come up to me to say hi, more people than have ever done in years gone by. There's nothing I love more than that. Obviously, I'm heavily associated with Josh from Theme Park Mad because we visit Pleasure Beach together every week and we vlog together very often. And he has also had so much recognition this year, including from the parks. He's been invited to a press event. He's been sent a special merch box by Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which is incredible. And I can't lie, sometimes I feel like a bit of an outcast at times. That's just part of being associated with another YouTuber. It's great in the sense that we always support each other with our content, and it's great to be best friends with someone who completely understands what I do, because that was certainly never the case when I was back at school, for example. I'd often get made fun of back when I did a gaming channel back in the day. So I'm so thankful for Josh. But I can't lie, sometimes I do feel like a bit of an outcast because the amount of recognition he gets is genuinely insane, and I've probably made a lot more mistakes in terms of YouTube, being a theme park content creator, than he has. But I'm looking to change in 2025, and I think it's going to be a very momentous year for the channel and the ThrillNet brand, as I'll get onto, and hopefully I can bring something that people value more than ever. For God's sake, I've just realised that my monitor's gone off and you can no longer see the ThrillNet logo. That brings us nicely onto the changes coming to the channel and the platform for 2025. Now, there's 4 main areas of which there's going to be major changes going forward, and the first of those is the ThrillNet community, I'm going to call it, essentially my fan base. YouTube has a wonderful feature known as the community tab, which I do not utilise nearly enough because I've been distracted with them blooming social media platforms. So going forward, and you'll have already seen more community posts over the past month, I'm going to be utilising that a lot more. Where I would have posted on Instagram and Twitter before, interacting on there, I'm going to be interacting here on the community tab, because the people who respond to that are obviously the people who are fans of the channel. You guys are the people who I know for sure care about me most, and I want to give you guys something in return for watching all the videos that you do. Those of you who follow me on Twitter and Instagram will actually notice recently that I've not been promoting videos on there when they've been published on the channel, and the reason for that is because I don't just want those platforms to become a place for self-promotion, because for those of you who are on there and who care about me, I don't think that self-promotion brings you any value, because you're likely to just check YouTube for new uploads from me anyway, or you'll get sent a notification when I upload. So I'm doing a little bit of experimenting on that front at the moment. I may well promote videos on there a couple of weeks after they've been uploaded, when no one appears to be watching them anymore, just to clear up any final people who may not have seen the video yet. And obviously those of you who do follow me on Twitter and Instagram will know that I do still post other stuff on there occasionally. Sometimes I'll post pictures from the parks, or I'll give a brief review of the day, because they're easy platforms to do that on. But content on there is very sparse. I'm using them in a very controlled manner thanks to my lovely transformation. But the bottom line is there's going to be less activity on Twitter and Instagram and more activity on the YouTube community tab, on which I'm going to be doing polls, quizzes, maybe update posts, etc. The second big area of change for the channel is that of networking. I want to start networking with not the theme park community on Twitter, people who are actually passionate about the industry, and that's why I am going to be starting the talk show at some point during close season. I've got limited details of how I'm going to be doing that exactly yet, but there's going to be occasional episodes, and it's important you understand that it's going to be occasional. It's not going to be every week, every 2 weeks. It'll be more like every month. As I said before, Josh has a pretty busy schedule that doesn't always align with mine. So if you've watched the Q&A, you'll already know all the details surrounding this, but I'm essentially going to be starting the talk show on my own. Josh is going to come on to help out when he can with interviews. I'll definitely get Josh on as a guest as well. He'll probably be the first guest that comes on. And yeah, my aim is to spread some positivity about good things happening in the industry, because despite all the bad, there's still a lot of good things going on, a lot of passionate people I'd like to interview. I've got a friend who's worked in the theme park industry as a ride operator. I've got another friend who's worked as a designer for props for attractions. There's so many passionate people within different teams at the different parks as well. For example, the Ents teams, for example, especially at Thorpe Park, and the events they put on, particularly Fright Nights. I love Fright Nights, and I'd love to get more of an insight into what goes on behind the scenes to make that incredible event what it is. The third area of change going into 2025 is going to be experimentation, where content is concerned. Now, I've touched on this already, but there's been a drastic reduction in experimentation in recent years on the channel since 2020, and over the past few months I've been evaluating the type of content I put out quite a bit. I've noticed especially this year that Pleasure Beach videos do really well, and that's why I've been hammering them out so much. Plus they're easy to get out as well because Pleasure Beach is my local park, and those additional Pleasure Beach videos have resulted in pretty rapid growth on the channel, so I'm certainly going to keep up with them. However, I'm well aware that there's only so many Pleasure Beach fans out there, therefore I'm doing my very best to try and cover other parks as well. And not just that, like I said before, putting out Planet Coaster videos to dive into that niche, if you will. A recent example of that being the single rail coaster I designed for the Grand Prix site. That video went down really well. The more experimental videos aren't always as successful as, say, a regular Pleasure Beach video. However, who knows, one day one of those videos could pop off, and then I've opened myself up to a new audience of people, and that's way more potential for growth. And the final area of change on the channel, and this is what I've been referring to with the top secret project, is expansion of the platform. I want to expand the ThrillNet platform, as I'm going to call it, to being more than just a YouTube channel. And is it in again? For God's sake, man.
Top secret project? Top secret project, and you couldn't even be asked to tell me about it?
Sorry man, it's not finished yet. Look, when you watch my reflections video, you'll understand entirely.
All I've heard for the past hour and a bloody half that you've been recording this video is that you're working on a top secret project that you couldn't even be asked to tell your bro about. Who the hell do you think you are, man? You're worse than them people on X.
I'm sorry I've upset you. I know you've had a difficult year. In fact, you know what? As a little treat, I could actually show you something.
Wait, you're giving me your phone? Thanks, man. It's actually a good few years since I upgraded. Wait.
That's right, I bet you've been begging me behind your screens to announce this top secret project in this video. Park Buddy is going to be launching later this spring. I'm not sure of an exact date yet, but it's going to be a brand new theme park trip companion app that's going to assist you with planning and conducting your theme park trips. You're going to have the ability to view queue times, show times, catering details for over 100 theme parks across the globe in Europe, the US, Asia. Major theme park chains are going to be supported, including Disney, Universal, Six Flags, Merlin Entertainments, and the list goes on. I'm not 100% sure yet what features are going to be in the app at launch, because I'll just disclose fully now. Not everything that I plan to include within this app is going to be ready for launch, because I have some really ambitious plans. One of my more long-term goals is to implement a system that I've never seen in any other theme park app before, that's going to essentially be a tailored itinerary recommendation system. So you're essentially going to be able to tell the app what types of rides you like, and it's going to recommend you based on queue time predictions in order to do things at the park. So for example, if Nemesis at Alton Towers, and I don't know this for sure, tends to be quieter in the mornings, and the app is aware that you like thrilling roller coasters, then chances are it's going to recommend for you to do Nemesis in the morning. So as you can tell, I've got really ambitious plans with this. I'm really enjoying working on the project. It's combining my love for both software engineering and theme parks. So what better project could I be working on? And that just leaves us with one last thing to do. Every year I share my favourite highlights of the season in a little montage. So without further ado, here are my biggest highlights of the 2024 theme park season.
Hello from Pleasure Beach Resort. We're in Great Yarmouth. There are a few ride closures today and stuff. Breaking news, Justin, guys! Breaking news! We're getting a new attraction at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I regret to inform you that Revolution has stalled for about the third time today. It's been really good today, so many people on park. And I really enjoy it, especially on front now.
This week has been a historic week in the UK theme park industry.
A Pleasure Beach Big One medal.
Demolition has indeed begun on the Grand Prix. Our first ever vlog from Fantasy Island. Oh my god, just poked myself in the eye with a pillow then.
In case you couldn't guess from the soundtrack, England are through to the semi-final, and it's gonna make me stay in there for an hour watching that. Honestly, Pat George, absolutely brilliant. I'm so impressed with that.
I can currently confirm that it sits in my number 2 spot.
Look at that. Just look. I'm a bit nervous now, but you know, you've just sworn on my vlog. I'm so sorry. Yet another new country and park. That thing was brilliant, gave tons of airtime. Seeing Efteling at night now, it's definitely up there. He said he'd been watching me ranting. He didn't say what video, but...
Any of them.
The tent is up. We have just come out of Mine Tours and I've got a big smile on my face. My first ever proper Aramark meal. Oh my daisy.
We are Stampede Society.
I just want to say an absolutely massive thank you to Jack and Archie.
Peel gangster with a bad dad that came from Sri Lanka. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, Colorado, Willy Wonka. You could be the king, but watch the queen conquer. First things first, I'll eat your brains. Then I'ma start rocking, roll, keep the
Pleasure Beach have today finally announced that they are bringing back the non-rider pass.
Grand Prix is in the process of literally being demolished. No more bouncing sensations in 2024.
I just told you I what the?
Did you really? Well, it's closed. I'm not sure about that. No way. No way.
Do you know what? They've added and taken away just the perfect amount.
Ice Blast is not only receiving a refurbishment but receiving a full retheme. And she asked, are we actually a couple? Wait, what? It's caught me a bit off guard there. Bloody heck, Danielle. And that concludes the year that transformed ThrillNet. Once again, thank you for your continued support. I wish you all the best for the new year, and I'll see you in another video very soon.